Salvete. Today we've got another fabula to do together. The title of the story today is Danihel in Lacum Leonum. That would be Daniel in the pit, right? The pit Leonum, the pit of lions. All right, let's get started with the first box here and see what happens. Darius, Dominus, Babylon est. So Darius, that's the name of the king. Darius, he is, remember from sum est est, sumus estis sunt. Est is he is. So Darius is what? Dominus, the Lord or the king of Babylon. So Darius is the Lord of Babylon. And we'll find out what happens. So let's move on to the next box. I'll write that up and then we'll do it together. All right, next sentence. Darius, Danihel, super principes ponit. So Darius is the subject. So here we have the subject. Here's the verb. So this verb is ponit, he places. Remember, toilet was he picks up, ponit is he places. So Darius places who? Danihel, so that's the direct object. He places Daniel where? Super, remember super means above. Super plus accusative, above the what? Principes, above the princes. So Darius was the king. He had a bunch of princes running things under him. Maybe he had a prince to take care of training the army, and he had a prince to take care of counting all the money, and he had a prince to take care of handing out food to people. But Daniel was above all of those. He placed Daniel above all of those. So remember, if you remember from reading the story, Daniel was a captive from Israel. So Darius was the king of Babylon. He had captured a bunch of people from Israel and made them slaves. But even though Daniel was a slave, Darius saw he was so wise and so skillful that he placed him over all his other princes. So he placed him over all his other princes, and then we'll move on to the third box. All right, third sentence. Darius was the lord of Babylon. He placed Daniel over the princes. Ergo, principes Danihel audiunt et concilium faciunt. All right, what does this mean? Ergo is a special word, therefore. So therefore, the princes, this is now in the nominative, plural. So the princes are the subject. We'll write a little S there for that. The princes are the subject, and what are they doing? Here's our verbs, audiunt and faciunt. Okay, there's our verbs. Remember, this is from audit, he hates. So the princes hate. So now notice this is the unt ending. So this is third person plural, so they hate. So therefore the princes, they hate Daniel. Here's the direct object again. They hate Daniel, and et means and, concilium faciunt. So remember, facit is he makes, faciunt would be they make. And they make what? Concilium, a scheme or a plot. So the fourth sentence, let's see what happens. So the princes, they hate Daniel, and they're making a scheme. Principes ad Darium veniunt et dicunt. O Domine, fac hoc edictum. All right, what does this mean? Principes, this is nominative plural again. So this is the subject. Princes, the princes, all the princes, they did what? Let's find the verb. Veniunt et dicunt. So we've got two verbs again. And notice they're both the unt ending. So these are third person plural again. So all the princes, they come and they speak. Et, remember, et is n. They come and they speak. Where do they come to? They come ad Darium. They come to Darius. So notice this is the ending because it's accusative now. Ad plus accusative means to or towards. So the princes, they come to Darius and they speak. What do they speak? O Domine fac hoc edictum. So what does this mean? Okay, so notice Domine ends with an E. That looks kind of like an imperative. This is actually a vocative, which you'll learn later. It just means they're addressing him directly. So they're saying, "O Lord, make," so this is an imperative actually. So foc, do it. Hoc edictum. So hoc is this, and edictum is order, remember? So they're saying, "O Lord, make this order," or make this edict or law. An edict is a law, specifically. So they want Darius to make a law. And what is that law? Let's look, flip to page 224. In the 5th sentence, we'll find out what that law is. All right, so here's what the edict will say. Si vir alium deum adorat, praeter Darium yaci eum in Lacum Leonum. All right, what does this mean? Si is one of your special words. If, vir, a man. Oftentimes when we say vir, we say the man, but it could also be a man. If a man does what? Adorat, worships. If a man, he worships what? Alium deum, another god. If a man worships another god, praeter Darium, so praeter is another special word, except. So, except Darius, yaci, here's an imperative. So from yacit, the imperative becomes yaci, so throw. They're saying, you Darius, throw eum, him, in Lacum Leonum, in the pit of lions. So if a man worships another god except Darius, throw him in the pit of lions. All right, throw him in the pit of lions. That's what they want him to do. So that sounds like a pretty good order, right? If you were king, you could maybe say, you know what? If anybody else says anybody's a good guy except me, just going to chuck him to the lions. We'll see if Darius thinks that's a good idea or not in the 6th sentence on the top of page 224. All right, what does Darius think about this? Darius says, est edictum bonum. It is a good edict. It is a good order. All right, Darius likes it. Est edictum bonum. That's what you guys can answer in class when I ask if it was a good lesson. You can say est bonum. All right. So he says it's a good order. So what's going to happen to Daniel? Let's find out in the next sentence. All right. So Darius likes the edict. Danihel edictum Darii audit, sed Danihel ad hoc deum adorat. All right. Danihel, this is the subject. Daniel, he does what? He audits. He hears. Here's the verb. So Daniel hears edictum Darii, the edict of Darius. Notice this is in the genitive. So the edict of Darius, because genitive is a possessive. He hears the edict, said means but Daniel does what? He worships, adorat. He worships ad hoc deum. So he worships God, and then ad hoc is a special word in your word list. That means still. So he worships God still. So Darius makes the edict that people are going to be thrown in the lion's den, but of course Daniel still will only worship God. So let's move ahead to sentence, what are we on now? Sentence number 8, and we'll keep translating this story. All right, so Daniel is still worshiping God. Said, but principes Dario dicent. So the princes, again, it's nominative plural again. So, but the princes do what? They say, so this is third person plural from dicent, they say Dario. Here's a good example. We don't often see a dative. This would be a dative. So they say to Darius. Remember, dative often uses the word to or for with it. So the princes, they speak to Darius, and here's what they say. Ecce Danihel deum alium adorat, ergo yaci eum in lacum Leonum. So eke, behold, Daniel, he worships another god, alium deum. He worships another god, ergo, therefore, yaci eum in lacum Leonum. Remember, yaci is the imperative of yacit, so throw him in the pit of lions, in lacum Leonum. So they want Darius to throw him into the pit of lions, just like he said in his law. And so we'll move on to sentence number 9 and see what happens next. All right, so what does Darius do? Iam Darius valde tristis est, sed Darius Danihel in lacum Leonem iacit. So iam is a special word in your word list. It means now. Now Darius, he is valde tristis. Valde is another special word, very. He is very sad. Remember, tristis, tristis, trista. He is very sad, but Darius, he does what? He yacits, he throws Daniel in the lacum Leonum, the pit of lions. So if you remember from when you've read the story in your Bible, Darius said, the laws of the Medes and Persians cannot be changed. So we can't just change the law. I already made the law. And so he had to go ahead and follow the law and throw Daniel into the lion's den, even though he liked Daniel and he didn't want to do it and it made him sad. So let's see what Darius says next. Darius, he says, Deus tuus, your God, te liberabit. All right, here's a fun one. So Darius says, your God, tuus Deus, that's your God, liberabit. All right, this is a future tense verb. So up until now, we've been doing present tense verbs. So yacit is just he throws, present tense. If we put a different ending on, we can do future tense, what will happen tomorrow. So we could say he will throw, or he will hear, or he will see. So Darius says, your God will save. So this is from liberat. So he will save you. So that's what Darius says. He knows he has to throw Daniel in the lion's den, but he says, I know that your God will save you. So we'll move on to page 225 and see what happens next. All right, so Darius throws Daniel in the lion's den. He says, your God will save you. Proximo da. So remember, proximus, proxima, proximum means near. In this context, it means next. So the next day. The next day, Darius ad lacum Leonum currit et vocat Danihel est ne vivus. Okay, so Darius, he does what? He currit et vocat. So currit is he runs. So he runs, ad plus accusative, ad lacum Leonum to the lion's den. He runs to the lion's den and he vocats, he calls. Daniel est ne vivus. So ne can be added to a verb and it makes the sentence a question. So are you, so est is he is, are you vivus, alive? So he runs to the pit and he says, are you alive? So we'll move on to sentence number 12 now and see what Daniel answers. All right, here's what Daniel answers. Danihel, ita quia Deus ora Leonum claudit. Daniel says, yes. Ita is a special word. That means yes. Quia, because, another special word, because God, Deus, he did what? He clouded, he closes, or he closed. So Daniel says, yes, because God closed the mouth, ora, this is from os, oris. He closed the mouth of the lions. So Daniel says, yes, because God closed the mouth of the lions. So let's see what Darius does next. All right, Darius valde laetus est, he is very happy, and Daniel a lacu ducit. So in Daniel he leads Daniel a lacu. This is out of the pit. So remember, X or A means out of, and since this word starts with a consonant, we use just E, which we pronounce A. So Daniel ducit a lacu, so he leads Daniel out of the pit. So next sentence, Dinda Darius principes in Lacum Leonum yacit. So then, Dinda, Darius, he yacits, he throws the princes this time, he throws the princes in Lacum Leonum, in the lion's den. That's a twist. Et leones principes devorant. And the lions, they devour, this is another third person plural, they devour principes, the princes. So, and the lions, they devour the princes. And that is the end of that. And then Darius said, everyone needs to worship Daniel's God right now. So, that's a good story. I know that you all remember it well. It's fun to see it again in Latin and see the different words in Latin and how we translate them into English. But it's a good reminder for us of this story. So a couple things about Daniel is when Darius made this law, he said no one could pray to God. And then it didn't talk about it in this translation, but you all remember what Daniel did. He went home. And did he go hide in a closet somewhere where no one could see him? Nope. He opened his window, just like he always did, and prayed right out in the open where everybody could see him. And so rather than hiding what he was doing, he just did it and trusted that God would take care of him. Or like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I think he trusted that even if God didn't take care of him, even if God did let him be eaten by the lions, it would still be better to obey God. And then it's also really neat that Darius was so sure that God would save Daniel that he ran to the lion's den as soon as it was morning. As soon as he was able to do it, he ran out there. And he wasn't an Israelite. He hadn't been taught about God, but he had just heard about God. And even then, he knew God and he trusted God to save Daniel. And then Daniel is also a foreshadowing of Christ. So just like Christ was killed and put in a tomb and a stone was rolled over, and then on the third day it was rolled away and he defeated death, Daniel was a foreshadowing of that, where he went down into a pit just like Jesus going into death. He wasn't actually killed, but everyone thought he was as good as dead. And then the king came and rolled the stone away and drew him out of the lion's den. So it's a lot of neat things going on in this story. All right, so good luck with your lessons this week. You can try to answer the Pensum de Fabula on page 227 if you want. Otherwise, we might be able to talk about that in class. And I hope all of your work goes well. All right, valete.